Ah, oh no, I started a little too soon. I didn't quite have everything set up properly like it should have been. Get our bot in here. Got Twitter sent out already. Oh, Streamlabs. I get it. Alright. And get the Discord taken care of. Alright. And we are good. So, hello everyone. Oh, I should probably walk on screen. Oh, there we go. Hooray for auto timing. Hello everyone, this is Chris Ingerson, and it is August 17th, and this is the August 17th TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be working with custom adventure stuff again. We're going to start off by finishing up our mini-map that we were working on last Saturday, or I guess it was Sunday, last weekend. And I forgot something on my glasses that I need to clean off. So, last week we started work on a mini-map that would show up whenever you drag the background around. That way you can kind of see where you are spatially in the area. So you can see here. It's not quite working 100%. Actually, technically it's functioning as it should, but we set up our code wrong for sizing the background. The idea is you can see that there's this semi-transparent black box that's moving around. That's supposed to be the background, and the white bar or the white box in the center is supposed to be the window that we have here. So what we need to do is we approached it by trying to confine the size of this. Hold on. Trying to confine the size of the draggable area, the semi-transparent black box, to the size of the parent rect for both it and the window. But that was not how we should have handled it, because the map can be larger than that, and it will be. So instead what we should do is we should actually size the map relative to the size of the window. So the window can be like that. That's perfectly fine, because the window is being based on the size of the window in relation to the screen width and height. So once we have that, we can basically just compare the normalized values. Well, it's not even the normalized values. Just compare the sizes of the original draggable area, the thing I'm clicking on right here, and the window here. And then we can just get our actual sizes. So let's go ahead and adjust that code. So all we need to do here is we have our new window size. I'm going to put this above new map size, and new map size now is going to be a little bit different because it's going to be this now. So it's going to be, hold on. So I don't think we really need this. And instead we want to do vector 2. Let's see, we have the map parent size and the map real size. Window real size and map real size is what we needed. So basically all we're going to do here is this. I can actually streamline this a little bit. So this is just going to come up to here and be like that, and you're just going to go up to here and be like that. Aha! Pretty straightforward. And for this one, we're pretty much going to do the same thing we were doing here, where we divide x by x and y by y, except we're going to do it in reverse. It's going to be map real size divided by window real size, I believe. So this is going to be equal to new window size dot x, and that's going to be times map real size dot x divided by window real size dot x, and then we're going to go ahead and say new window size dot y times same thing map real size dot y divided by window real size dot y. Okay, and that should pretty much be it. That should be all we have to do. So let's go ahead and let that compile, and we'll see how that turned out. And again, the reason that we're doing that is because the also, why did I do that? I hit space instead of C. Good thing that I can just reset it. So I meant to C. There we go. So the reason that we're doing that is because, again, the map is much larger than the window, and it can theoretically be much larger than the screen. So we don't want to confine it to the parent. Instead, we just want it to be sized relatively to the window, because we want the window to be confined to the parent, but the map area should basically just be based off of the visual window. So let's go ahead and try this. So that's going to make the area much larger. Um, oh, interesting. So that actually is not quite correct. That's interesting. Why are you sized the same? That seems wrong. It's going to be much larger, so that's going to be... Yeah, that's correct. This should be basically the relative size. Okay, well, let's go ahead and just debug this information. Format, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to say, let's just do 0, new line 1, new line 2, new line, if I can spell new line even, 3, okay. So we are going to want map real size, dot to vector string, then window real size, dot to vector string, followed by new map size, dot to vector string, and then new window size, dot to vector string. Okay, and I suppose we should just do map real window real do and then map mini followed by window mini. Okay, let's go ahead and let that compile, see what those values are, make sure that they are somewhat sensible. Because I'm like, it didn't seem like we actually had a size difference, which to me actually, oh, so we might have had the correct size. Maybe our positioning is incorrect. Because actually, looking at it, that does seem about right. So this, it might be a little hard to make out on stream. I think you can see it. There's this semi-transparent square here. That's the map, the draggable area. And that's about what it looks like when we're dragging the minimap around, which means that it's not the map size that's incorrect, but rather our position calculation, which makes more sense, I suppose. So to give you a sense here, like right about there, yeah, let's try to center it. So when centered, it's looking about right. Mostly squarish. It's kind of hard to tell for sure, but in theory it should be perfectly square. But it's not. Ho ho ho. It is very much not correct. That's interesting. Because these should line up. That means that my map is being squished a little bit. How curious. I'm going to check real quick. Let's put in a calculator. I'm curious to see if these aspect ratios are roughly the same for the window. I want to make sure. So the window real is about 1180 divided by about 520. So it's let's go ahead and open up Notepad. So that's what the aspect ratio was for that. If we pop back here, let's see. So we're going to go for the second set, which is about 218 divided by 80-ish. That is 2.725. That's actually all it is. So that's pretty significant. That's a pretty big difference. I suppose if I'm going to do it accurately, I should plug in the exact numbers. So let's see if plugging in exact numbers gets me something a little bit closer, but I kind of doubt it there. So let's go for 218.2525 divided by 80.587. I'm sorry, 585. 58572. That's 2.7, which is closer, but not by much. So those values are just wrong then. So let's see, new window size, map parent size, dot x. Okay. Well, that's less useful. Why do I care about the map real size? I don't think that I do. Instead, I think we want this to be the screen size, actually. So we want the window real size to be divided by the screen real size. Not... Yeah, okay. So I'm going to copy this. Paste that, put that in there. So we want this to be screen.width. And then this to be screen.height. Okay, let's try that. See if that makes a little bit more sense. Also, making sure. Okay, this is pivoted at 0.5. Wanted to make sure that my pivots lined up and I wasn't getting any weird offsets. All right. Let's go ahead and pop back in right here. If it wants to. That is wholly impossible. Now my map is way too tall. And it's because of frickin'. Right? Oh, man, I hate it when it does this. So if I maximize on play, I think it'll actually be closer. I hate the screen class. It really is stupid. So screen, when you're referring to this, wasn't much better actually. This is still wrong. Or is it? It's really hard to tell. It's clearly dragging incorrectly though. Like it's not letting me drag it all the way down or all the way up. It's obviously also way too tall. So cool. That means we have to debug screen, which is annoying. Screen.width, screen.height. Okay, let's go ahead and let that compile. So, curious. Let's see here. Yeah, that's about correct, I would think. Hmm. Clear that. Play here. Let's see what we end up with as far as debug information goes. Okay. How interesting. Okay, so I think I was mistaken. Originally I thought that screen was going to give me a false positive. It wouldn't give me the resolution of game. It would give me the resolution of my desktop. So it does seem like that's actually coming in handy. Right. Not. It's not relevant. That's not what I need. I need this. This is what I need. I need the canvas scaler on this. Okay. So for this, we want vector to canvas size is equal to UI dot get. Let's see, scalar dot reference resolution. Okay. So actually, we want this to be canvas size dot x and canvas size dot y. It always gets me because I always forget that um, screen width and height is not always one-to-one with what the canvas resolution is. I typically run my canvas resolution, as you can see here, at standard HD, not 1020 or not 1080 by, I'm sorry, 1920 by 1080. Instead of doing that, I do 720p, and that's mostly because I don't really need super high fidelity resolution UI, at least not in my opinion. Okay, so we are going to try this. Let's see what we get. You are still incorrect. Canvas. Okay. Interesting. Ugh, excuse me. Okay. They really, I don't understand. Um, why is this value incorrect? I might have to debug my normalized values to make sure that they're coming out what I would expect that. Okay. Let's go all the way up here. Still way, way, way off. And this is just way, way, way off too. Why are they so large? Okay, so window real size divided by canvas size. Let's see. What does it say? 1280 by 720, that's correct. Window real is about... That's 0.9 something times map parent size. It's not the reference, is it? No. Okay, good. Map reference. Okay. I suppose let's just... Yeah. The minimap itself is what's sizing this. That's what I wanted. But it's... Perhaps that's my problem? Okay. So... That makes more sense. So I think the reason that it seems to be being stretched vertically for the window, why it doesn't look as squat as this, is because the map parent itself is more of a box instead of a rectangle. So if I want this to behave appropriately, I need to size it appropriately. Okay. That makes sense. So basically, instead of trying to make it a normalized value based on the parent, I only need the normalized value for one dimension, the x-axis, and then the y-axis is going to be determined by an aspect ratio, I suppose. So that means that this part of new window size is going to turn into crap. Of course you are. It's going to turn into this. And then times this value, which is going to be, let's see, window real size. Window real size dot x divided by window real size dot y. I think that's what we want. And that should bring all of my other values into range as well. So that explains why my minimap was being scaled so large in the Y, because my window was being scaled too large in the Y, which was throwing everything off. We should be able to use basically normalized values. Well, not normalized. What's the term? Excuse me. We should be able to use, I guess, aspect ratio values to get the map size once we have the correct window size. So let's see here. That is clearly incorrect. Okay, so map parent size dot x times, that gets me my x value, times window real size dot x divided by that. I had that backwards. What was the problem? My fault. My fault. I guess I could have divided instead of multiplied, and we would have gotten the same result. But this will be fine. Okay, So let's let that compile and try again. Oh man, got gotta stretch. Play. Okay, let's see. There we go. We still don't have the correct normalized positions, though. Hmm. So here, interesting. So this is, I'm not really sure actually. Can we get me anything useful here? I mean, you can tell me what my anchored position is, but you can't really tell me anything else about that. So clearly our normalized positions are not quite being set correctly. I do think that our size is appropriate now. So if I try to like position this in the center roughly, right about there, that does seem about right. The only problem is that it's too big, so we don't get a good sense of where things are, or at least where they reside spatially. I guess something we can do here is let's just add a couple of like points. And I mean, again, like it does seem that these normalized values are being evaluated correctly. Oh, hello. Interesting. But I think my position is not. So this is going to be interesting. Okay. So let's go to minimap, and map is what we want. Ah, man, I really wish that I could get a normalized position value and know what it was here. So I think part of the problem is that once we get past negative, so once we get past 0 and 1, I think my values start to become inaccurate, basically. So the problem is that we're dragging something that's bigger than the parent rect around. And because of that, it doesn't quite, excuse me, doesn't quite know what to do. Okay. So I would argue that the window sizes are roughly correct relative to one another now. Although it is a little difficult to tell that. Are you correct? Okay. Yeah, they're the same height. As long as the width and height is the same, that means that it should roughly be correct. Um, hmm. Okay. So now my normalized positions are being a little wonky. Set normalized anchored position. Hmm. This is going to be a little awkward, but I'm going to try to see if I can math this out appropriately. So I'm just going to kind of like drag the map to the top right. That should be positive pivots all around. Nope, I lied. I want to go top left. Like there. So that is set to 0.92. which seems wrong. All right, because there's obviously lots of 0.92s. I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to convert that to a vector string. The problem with just passing in the actual vector 2 is that it basically only shows this much. It only shows the top decimal value. So by converting it to a string manually, it should give us a much better readout on what its values are. Because that 0.9 could be like 0.499999, basically 0.5, and it would still not really give me anything useful. And that 2.0 could be 1.92, and it wouldn't give me anything useful. Got the yawns. Should have taken a nap before the stream. I'm like falling asleep at the wheel here. I really, really don't like this. It's too big. It needs to be so much smaller to be usable. This is utterly ridiculous. Well, at any rate. Okay. So it looks like 0.85 and 1.96. Okay. So, yeah, trying to think about. So grid background is about here, and the mask is. Yeah, this is not going to give me anything particularly useful. Okay, I guess in theory, what we can do here is, let's see, 0.8. I guess I could switch to the anchored positions. Excuse me. Too much yawning. Okay, so we're going to create a new empty game object here. I know that we're still in play, that's fine. I'm just going to switch its anchors to be these values. So it's going to be, what, 0.8? Let's just do the exact value. Oh, wow. Is that about correct? That is almost exactly correct. I think that is actually like exactly correct. Um, that's cool. It means that my normalized value is correct. At least get normalize is. Does that mean that set normalize is not? Well. Maprec.set normalized anchored position. Map reference get normalized anchored position. I'm not really sure what would be a good approach here. Or my mic flopping all over the place. Sorry about that. So, I I believe that our size is correct and our positioning is incorrect. I think that's what's happening here. It's interesting. I would actually expect that, well, so I mean, it's definitely a positioning problem because as you can see, we're clipping past areas that we shouldn't be able to clip past, and we're also not being able to enter areas that we should be able to enter. Like we're at the bottom left here, which means that this is too far right and too far down, um, which implies that the normalized position is incorrect. I suppose actually a way to test that is to do the same thing. So we're going to go ahead and put this here. Paste those. Paste these. That is way too high. How interesting. So, no. So that's correct. How interesting. So we're correct on the big map, but we're incorrect on the small one. How curious. Those are normalized values, which means that they should be correct. Perhaps the same issue? Yes. Okay, that's the problem, I think. Um, that would explain the offsets too a little bit. The problem is that our normalized position for this map, the big one, is based off of its parent rect, which is the window rect that we're looking at. If you look over here, window, oh, sorry, logic panel. That's the actual one. Oh, wait, no. Reference is logic map, map reference, window reference. Oh, it is. But I should not be doing that. Instead, yes, okay. I know what's going on now. So one, this should be our thing. Window reference should actually be based off of the mask, not the logic panel itself. But also, we need to come down here, and I have to do something kind of weird, which is we're going to put this over here. We're going to call this, it's just going to be a regular old transform like that, isn't it? This is going to be our map. Yes. Yeah, hold on. So this should be our map. I don't want to say map parent, but map parent is where we're going. We're going to go ahead and put this underneath there. We are going to change up this code so that we don't actually use the map parent anymore. So we don't actually want to do map parent because these are no longer shared. Instead, this should be the window parent, I suppose. So that makes this window rect. Nope. Window rect.parent as rect transform. That is correct. We are going to now have, let's see, window rect. I'm going to go ahead and put this right here. This is going to be map parent. Parent rect. That is the parent of the map rect transform. Okay. So what we need to do here is actually a little odd. So we want to say that map parent rect dot size delta is going to be equal to window rect dot rect dot size delta. Okay. And I think that will be doing everything that we need it to. So let's try that again. So we gotta let that compile and assign some references. Okay. Eventually it'll work. There we go. So here's our map parent. Alright. Let's try this. I'm reasonably confident in this. Yes! Dang it. It stops on the Y for some reason. But why? But why? So X you can see is pretty much correct. It's like a little bit wrong, but Y just stops for some reason. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So the normalized Y position is incorrect? I wouldn't expect that. How interesting. So first things, it seems to stop moving down. Do not go negative. Is that it, basically? Interesting. So I think that's it. It can't go negative or past 1. Yep, that looks about right. Interesting. The question is, why? Very interesting. Pivot at 0.5, 0.5. That's all correct. Hmm. I'm not sure. This is curious, though. Um, so, hmm. Okay. Let's figure out what is going on here, I guess. Can vector position. Yep. Hmm. Okay. How interesting. Why would it clamp? That's very odd. Let's see. Let's make sure I'm not doing anything to clamp Y. Ah, perhaps. Perhaps that's why. Maybe I need to change this to lerp unclamped. Hmm. I think that kind of makes sense. Perhaps that minus pivot is keeping me there. No. For a second, I was wondering if maybe it's because my x-axis is not as it's not wider than the screen, but neither is my y-axis, and both the x and y-axis on the map itself are wider and taller than the screen. So it's not that. Okay. And again, oh, there we go. So yes, it was the clamping. Well, there we go then. That is awkward. The way that it like stops because of deltas. Okay. Probably shouldn't do that. But it's okay for now, I suppose. So, let's go ahead. And I'm going to change minimap here. Originally it was meant to be sized like that, but I think I'm going to try. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to try running this as a standard size. So I'm going to shrink this into like 200 by 200. Let's just see if that's okay. Because it'll be much easier if I don't have to use anchoring on this, and it'll just sort itself out, and I don't have to worry about it. The other benefit is that obviously I can make this much smaller. Cool. So that does work. Let's try creating a couple of nodes. Let's create them at the four corners. Oh dear. That's interesting. How interesting. Apparently if it's too far to the left, it straight up cancels out anything that I have. So here I can't. Okay, there, whatever. It just wanted to mess with me, apparently. Okay, I'm not sure how I feel about that. That seems somewhat incorrect. But, okay. The areas are much more padded than I would like on the left and the right. They seem about right vertically speaking, but horizontally they seem much wider. Maybe not. Alright, though. Nice. So it does seem that those points are roughly correct. Let's see. Yeah, more or less. Alright. Nice. So now we have that minimap actually fully functional, I think. The only things, well, now technically the minimap itself is actually done. The only things that I would really worry about is doing like this. Oh, nope, it looked like it was actually correct. Okay, so I think the minimap is done. That is really nice, though. I do like that effect. Okay, so sorry, I'm just having a lot of fun messing with this. um, okay. So with that, we are going to move on to the next thing. I think the mini-map is pretty much as done as we need it to be for now. I'm not too worried about fleshing out this mini-map too much, honestly. I really just wanted something that kind of showed up whenever you dragged around so you could easily see where your node logic is. I don't think I'm going to have connections show up on this. And connections are honestly something that I need to redo, in my opinion. I need to come up with a better system for connecting things. Um, but how do we want to handle that? Connections would be the logical next step. And then, I'm trying to think about how we should structure this. Because it's possible that at the end of this, So let's say that I'm making a custom bit of logic to show a message at the end of the game if you've collected enough apples. Then what I would want to do is I would want to say like if we'd have a static event start node, and then that would be connected to say an if statement, and those statements need to pull in data from other nodes in sequence, but in reverse. So instead of top down, we want it to be bottom up. No. So, hmm. I'm not 100% sure. Let's go ahead and stop playing though. Hmm. No. Sorry, I'm kind of thinking through how to structure connecting nodes. Um, because ideally, we would have a system that is similar to um, things like Substance Designer, where you have input and output ports for the nodes. And the other thing I'm trying to think through is custom logic maps aren't always going to do something. They'll always evaluate what logic you feed them, but they may evaluate that data or the input data in such a way that nothing gets done. So going back to my example, when you end the game and you wanted to output a message if you collected X amount of apples or more, then we would say like static event at the beginning. That's just like end game, and then we go from there to the next node, which would be an if node probably, and that if node would take a input value and then an else value. So if we would say get, I guess we can sort of pseudocode it or block it out here. Um, if it chooses to play anyway. So we would do something like, actually we can delete you. Instead we can say if get int, if this target variable is greater than, good, make sure that worked. So if this target variable is like greater than or equal to this flat int value, so if that integer is greater than or equal to this integer value, then we would do something, and if it's not, then we would do nothing. So I'm trying to think about how we would structure this, because not like I said, in that case, if you met the criteria, then it would output a string. But if you didn't meet that criteria, then it wouldn't do anything. Hmm. Okay. I'm not really sure what to do here for that. Uh, hmm. Well, I do have one thing that I want to do that I can do to avoid trying to solve that problem right now on air, which is when you have a node selected, it should probably show the highlight color. So let's go ahead and I don't need you. I can come down to here and get rid of this. I can get rid of this now. And we can go all the way up to here. We can get rid of this whole line. you, get rid of you, and you, get rid of all of you, get rid of you. Okay. So, let's see here. When I initialize the map, we call color.white. Logic map.nodes. Initialize icons. Add icon. So this is just a list of my minimap icons. I don't actually remember. Let's go to definition here. I do have a target. And that target is set. So, okay. Let's go down to logic minimap. And I'm going to add a function here. We're going to call this like public void update node color. Rect transform node transform color. Okay. Sorry, I'm kind of this all set up here. So we're just gonna say if is visible, then we're gonna say I'm gonna make that its own thing because I assume that's gonna be a useful thing to have. Private rect transform. Nope, sorry, not that. Private CG logic minimap icon get icon given a rect transform icon target, and then that's all we need really. Oops. Okay, and we're just going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than icons dot count I plus plus. If icons of I dot target is equal to icon target, then we're going to say return icons of I, else we will return null at the very end there. Okay, so if visible, we're going to say CG logic map logic minimap icon. Icon is equal to get icon node transform. Okay, and then we're going to say if icon does not equal null, icon dot color. I probably should have that be a thing. Let's go to definition. Let's go ahead and say public color color, I guess. Get return image dot color. Oops. Also, we're going to say set image dot color is equal to value. Come down to here. We're going to say image dot color is equal to color. Pretty straightforward. That's all we really needed to do. Okay. So the other thing is, let's go to minimap, find all references. There should be a reference to it in logic map. Good. And when we call this, oh, right. Hold on. Peek this definition. We set the highlight. Peek definition. I suppose I can do highlight color. Probably would be a good thing for me to have on here. Okay. So I'm gonna come over to here. here I'm going to say public color highlight color get return highlight image dot color. And we are going to go ahead and say, I guess that's fine. I'm assuming I set this back to white normally. Yeah, okay. So let's go ahead and we're going to go back to minimap here. And when we call refresh, it's not just going to be color.white, it's going to be logic map nodes of I.highlight color. That'll make things a little bit easier there. And then when we go back here to logic map, when I call on node clicked, I'm going to want to also say minimap dot update node color node dot rect transform, and then node dot highlight color. Okay, and that also means frack. Because definition target node. Yep. I mean, I gotta set the other node that was already there, so I gotta do node inspector dot. Please tell me. Of course you don't. Okay. So we're gonna say right here, public CG logic node target node. It's gonna be get return target node. Okay. We're gonna come back over to here. We're gonna say node inspector. Actually, we're gonna say if node inspector dot target node does not equal null. I'm gonna say, oh man. All right, fine. So we're gonna do this. It's a little awkward. CG logic node previous target is equal to node inspector dot target node. So we're gonna say if previous target does not equal null, then we're gonna say minimap dot update node color previous target dot rect transform followed by previous target dot highlight color. Let's try that. So this should basically get it so that when we have a node selected and we're dragging around, it will basically highlight the selected node a different color. At least that's the theory behind it anyway. So let that compile. Let's go ahead and clear these errors. Hit play. Let's see. Oop. Okay. Making sure. Okay, so I'm going to add a bool value here. Let's drag this around. Add a float value. Nice. 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 Okay, so when we need to update that too. So let's see here. So we need it. So it does update appropriately when we drag it around, but we also need it to update when we close that. You can see that it's still highlighted. So let's go ahead and logic node inspector. Inspector delete node. Node deleted. That's unfortunate. Go to definition. Do I not call anything when I say hide. Which doesn't go anywhere. Okay, that's unfortunate. Yeah, okay. So I need to add this. We're going to go ahead and say public event system action inspector closed is equal to delegate okay, and when we call on closed clicked, we're going to say inspector closed. All right, and we're going to actually move that up to the top here, and we're going to say dot invoke. All right, then we're going to go back to CG logic map. We're going to say node inspector dot inspector closed plus equals, say on inspector closed. I know that's not actually going to do anything, but we will get that in a second. Private void on inspector closed. Oops, that was weird, but okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say what do I want to do here? Node inspector dot target node. So we're going to say update minimap dot update node color. The rect transform, and I guess we're going to just go back to white. Rect transform. Okay, so let's go ahead and let that go. We'll see what ends up happening. And at some point I should probably expose those colors to the player in an option of some kind. So that they can, similar to how we have options for the map or the map layout. You play. Got nothing going on there, which is nice. Let's do a couple of get bools, get floats. Damn it. It's very difficult to do. I'm trying to get this going and then, okay, making sure that it would show up if I created something while I was dragging this around. Okay. Nice. There's that. It's very difficult. I should probably just turn the fade time or the fade delay to be a little bit longer. Obviously, in a real game, I wouldn't want that, but nah, I'm good with that. For a second there, I was debating if I should change the size of the nodes so that they would match the width and height of the node transforms, those bounds. But I honestly don't think that that's very important, so that's not really gonna. That's just a lot of work for not really any real gain. So let's go ahead and. Alright, so that seems to be working. Oh, you know what, actually, I should. I couldn't tell. Alright, I'm gonna turn the fade out delay to like 5 seconds so that I can clearly test this a lot easier. I do think that 1 second is pretty good though for general timing, but for debugging purposes, I need it to last a little bit longer. So that seems to clean itself up all right. Nice. Okay, actually, the real question is it cleaning itself up? Or am I just assuming it? Uh-huh. There we are. Where are you? You're somewhere way out in the middle of nowhere, aren't you? I knew it. So it's not that it's cleaned up, it's that it's just gone. It's just moved somewhere. Um, okay, so I need to go to here and let's find all references here. No deleted. Find all references. No deleted target node. Delete node. Node. Okay. So we need to remove this node then. So we're going to go to logic minimap and we're going to say update node color. Let's go to public void remove node rect transform node transform. Okay. So we're going to say CG logic minimap icon. I always forget what I called it. Icon is equal to get icon node transform. If icon does not equal null, then we're going to go ahead and say icons dot remove icon, and then icon dot clean up, and then icon or pool manager dot recycle. Oops, recycle icon dot game object. Okay. Let's peek this definition. All right. I'm going to just real quick comment some of this so that I don't forget what it does. This is going to be image for I guess image for the I really don't know. It doesn't really need a tooltip, I guess. But down here we're going to do some commenting. This is going to be rect, hold on, rect transform being tracked on the main map. The current color of the image attached to this icon. Or how about not attached, but for this icon. And that's what I can use for the tooltip. Image used for this icon. Okay. Initialize the icon to track with the given target and color. Target to track on the main map. Color for this icon. Okay. Sets the icon's target to null and its color to white. Okay. That's pretty good. And I suppose I should comment this. This is going to be class used to position icons on the logic on custom adventure logic mini maps. Okay. when we delete this node, we're going to say minimap dot remove node node dot transform. Oh, sorry, node dot rect transform. Okay. I think we're pretty good there. Let's let all that compile. So that should make it so that when we delete a node, it will now actually clean up properly. It won't just be like moved off to the middle of nowhere. Which, while technically functional, is not, you don't want to risk that. Okay. So let's go ahead and clear these. Hit play. Let's just get a couple of things on here. All right, there we go. That seems to have cleaned up properly. So we'll let this fade out, and then boom. Cool. And if we drag while you're already green, cool. There we go. So that is accurately reflecting our various nodes, which is pretty nice. Ooh, that's a good question. Also, you're very annoying. So you'll notice that I have not hovered over the button, but we do have our tooltip showing up. I am not sure why that's happening. I don't really know what's going on there. I feel like it has something to do with rapidly opening and closing the input menu, or the node select menu, I guess. But I don't know. But at any rate, this is another thing that we might want to look at actually. The minimap draws over the over my node selection. It's not going to interfere with it because I set it up so that this is not going to block any raycasts. Because why would it? It doesn't need to do that. But the downside is that it's drawing over the node select menu. But maybe that's for the best. I mean, I doubt that. Again, this is really only a problem because I have it set to a high value for that. If I put this back at what it should really be, 1 second, that's hardly enough time for me to be concerned about it. Okay, so if we try to deal with this like normally, yeah, it's gonna go away. I mean, it's only 1 second before it starts to fade out, and then after that, it's like what, half a second? Yeah, it lasts. So it's 1.5 seconds basically once you stop dragging for it to disappear, which is fine. I don't think it's gonna cause any problems, honestly. If people are that concerned about it, they can just kind of wait a little bit. This is more annoying, honestly. But it's probably fine. Okay, so I'm trying to think. There was an edge case that I was thinking of. For now, let's go ahead and close this. I'm going to come up here to logic panel. I'm going to go to endgame here. So I'm going to change this a little bit. So this is going to be variables. Oh, right. That's the thing I was thinking about doing. So I probably should overhaul my tooltip rec stuff to have a best fit scenario and to have a max width scenario, but I'm not sure how I can do that. It would be nice if I could basically set up, well, here, actually, hold on. This is just going to be called variables. Um, I'm going to call this variables. I feel like I should probably, well, no, it's fine. Okay, so I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to say create folder behaviors. What are these called? Just collections. Yeah. So folder collections. Put this right here. And I'm going to drag all of these into here, I suppose. Okay. Let's go ahead and create these in subgroups too. So variables, create folder, consts. Put these right there. Variables are going to go in here. Okay, let's go ahead and create text quest. Sorry, SOS text quest. Custom game, logic, behaviors. I guess actually logic collection. We're going to call this constants. Constants. Let's go ahead and change some of this. So this is going to be, I'm going to reduce this down to 4. I'm going to say this is, I don't want to say behaviors. That's too long a word. Get values stored in variables. Okay. Go ahead and grab these. Constant. This is going to be create static values, I guess. I guess that's okay. So we're going to go back up here to logic panel. I'm going to add constants to this. I just wanted to give it a little bit of a variety so that I can have things below different submenus instead of having them all under one menu. So trying to think how I should approach this. So if we click, we now have variables and constants. These should probably be alphabetized, maybe. Yeah, so this is one of the things that I was talking about. It would be cool to be able to basically hover, or not hover, have the tooltip try to figure out where the best location for it to be. So here I would actually expect it to kind of go to the left instead of being on the right. That is exceedingly difficult, though. But because you can spawn it anywhere, I feel like that should be the case. So we have this. Okay. So oh boy. Ugh. Yeah, that's gonna make things difficult. I'm thinking about adding like a search functionality so that when you basically when you open this up, it'll have a input field selected for you already, and you can just start typing. So that way, if I want to say like create a bool, I can just right click, start typing bool, and then it'll show me behaviors that say like get bool or Boolean. Um, but that is drastically complicated. Uh, so I could use a tree. That would make sense. But causes some amount of problems. So, oh hey, it's doing the thing that I don't want it to do. Um, where it's just got a tooltip going on for seemingly no good reason. I was not paying attention to what I was doing, so I don't know what caused that. Okay. Well, at any rate, so let's go ahead and if I hover over it, yep. Cool. So I guess the reason that it would stay there is if I either it's one of two things. Either I come off on just the correct frame that it's gonna stop it from doing it. Um, or I don't know. Okay, so we have our various values here. And there it is again. That is so weird. Okay. I almost feel like... No? I almost feel like the rect transform, or the rect tooltip rect is remembering... Oh my god, I'm yawning so much. Is remembering the wrong rect, basically. And that's why it's showing up. I'm really not sure. Um, okay. So, I suppose the next logical step here would be... I really don't know if I want to do the search thing. Well, actually, I have to do the search thing. That's not a... That's an irrelevant thing, really. Okay. Go ahead and stop this. So I currently have... So is Markov tree derived from tree data? Uh-oh. What's going on here? Oh. Thanks, collaborate. Oh, screw you, collaborate. Cool. So Unity Collaborate is searching through for all those changes. So let's see, Markov tree. Okay, so it's its own thing. So I could probably just do that then. It'll be very similar to this. This is the tree class that I use for my word suggestion in the main game. And it's pretty straightforward. It's basically just the chars that are referenced, then the words that are possible, and then the sub branches. And we're essentially going to do the same thing, but instead of words, it's going to be, I guess, logic nodes. Or no, not logic nodes, but behaviors. So let's try doing that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Ooh, we are just going to we're just gonna go ahead and optimize that. So if prefix dot equals chars dot string comparison dot ordinal ignore case return this. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious me. Oh. Oh. Oh man. That is really painful. I was terrible when I did this. How awful was that? All right. So, sorry, I gotta fix this. Um, put this in there. Put this down here. So, if, oops, if not, prefix dot starts with chars followed by ordinal ignore case. Okay. And actually, let's do this. Return null. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to say if string.is null or empty chars. I'm going to say if not that. Because this is the faster operation than this, I'm assuming. Okay. Return null. So yeah, we're pretty good here. Let's go ahead and copy this. Am I using... Okay, good. Sure. Find all starts with... Why? Pointless. New chars, and then this dot ordinal ignore case. Okay, pretty sure this is the one that I wanted to do. Yes, okay. Phew. What a terrible thing. Yep. Cool. So that was a fair bit of optimization just there. Wow, I must have cut down on, well, this was generating 2 strings. This was 2 strings as well, and this was also 2 strings. So I cut that from generating 4 strings here and 2 strings here down to no generation of strings. All right. Cool. So I'm going to let that compile, and then I'm going to start a new tree data that I need. So we're going to come down to logic map, node inspector. Let's see, logic map, node inspector. Hold on. Logic list is what's there. Okay, so let's go up here to logic list. So I'm going to create C# script, and this is going to be CG underscore logic behavior tree, I guess. I should have called it logic behavior tree data. Shouldn't I have? Yeah. It's okay. It might make more sense just to call it a tree, because trees contain trees, so might as well. If it's ever going to compile and let me actually move, there we go. Okay, he still didn't quite open up what I wanted. Okay, so this is going to be sleepyal.textquest.custom adventures. It's just going to be a standard class. It's not going to be serializable. When you're doing tree classes, you do not want to do you do not want to make it a serialized class because they contain themselves, and Unity will freak out if you do that. It might be okay. Well, nope, it won't be okay. Even if you don't serialize it, the inspector will still be mad at you. It's not going to break anything. It'll just give you this error, this warning whenever the list gets adjusted, and it'll say something like serialization depth cannot exceed maximum of 7 depths or something like that. And it's basically because Unity serialization only goes 7 layers down, I think, and then it just stops. So, uh, okay. So for this, we are pretty much going to set it up similar to this. So we're going to say we need a couple of things. First, we're going to say using system.collections.generic, and then that's really all we need, right? Yeah, we didn't even need sleepyall.com and then that one. So let's go ahead and we're going to say public string chars equal to nothing, and then public, I think it's a list is the next thing, correct? Yeah. List CG logic behaviors is equal to new list. Okay, let's peek this. Wrong thing to peek. This is what I was talking about. Okay, yeah, that's my scriptable object. Okay, and then on top of that, we're going to want to have public list CG logic behavior tree. What did I call it before? Sub branches. Yeah, sub branches is equal to new. Okay. I guess that kind of makes sense. Okay. So we're going to say public. Oh, one without argument. That's on capacities. Excuse me. Okay. So we're going to say public CG logic behavior tree. String chars. This dot chars is equal to chars. Behaviors is equal to new, blah blah, and then sub branches is equal to new, blah blah. Pretty much assuming that's correct. Yep. And then I guess public list. Oops, what am I doing? CG logic behavior tree. String chars, and then list CG logic behaviors. This dot chars is equal to chars. This dot behaviors is equal to behaviors, and sub branches is equal to new. Okay, and so public void clear chars is equal to that. Behaviors dot clear sub branches dot clear. Kind of making sure that this works the way we would expect. Add branch. All right, so let's go ahead and copy these over pretty much because we're doing the same thing. Okay. So for this, we want the prefix, and actually, I'm going to go ahead and comment this. This is going to be base string used for this tree data. Oh man, this is going to get so complicated. Behaviors contained by this tree node, and these are going to be, just to be sure, so sub branches of more specific tree data. Okay. Clears the tree and its sub branches. Okay. And this is going to be CG logic behavior tree. Okay. Fucking bug flying around here, right in my face. Okay. So we're going to get rid of this and get rid of this. Okay. And otherwise, we're going to say let's go ahead and do that. And add branch words. Find all w dot starts with. Right. So this one is a little bit more difficult. We want to say behaviors dot find all w dot display name dot contains. Oh dear. Darn it. So we don't have a string comparison there. That's unfortunate. Let's see. Starts with and ends with. So ends with does have a comparison value. Contains does not, which is a little bit more irksome. Before I write my own, let me make sure that so C# string dot contains ignore freaking contains ignore case. I want to see if there is one. English code bases. Let's see. So I'll show you what I'm looking at. Oh. Wow, that is much better. Okay. That is actually a pretty straightforward way of doing that. And before I'm just going to put that back over here. Let's go to my string extensions. String extensions. Okay, so we're going to say public static bool contains, and then we're going to say this string, I guess, yes, followed by, let's see, string, target string, and then followed by string comparison, and we're going to say that's equal to string comparison dot ordinal ignore case, and all we got to do here is just say return s dot index of target string followed by comparison. Oh, and then is that greater than 0 or equal to 0? Okay, so it's going to say returns true if the if the string contains the target string value. I guess that's true. We're going to say method to evaluate string comparisons with, we're going to say the string to check. Well, so this is going to be the string to check for the string to check and see. This is terrible. The string to check if to check the contents of, I guess. It's terrible. The string to check for in jeez, the string to check for in the contents of another of the target string. Terrible phrasing all around. So we're just going to do this dot contains. Okay, I gotta come up to here and say using sleepyowl.common. Cannot implicitly convert type. Sleepyowl custom adventures logic behavior. Ah, that's why. Do. Go back over here. Okay. Let's see. If there are no words in this tree, check the dictionary. That we do not care about. That is not a thing. Okay, so if new words dot count is greater than 0, this is going to be new that. And then okay, so I'm going to call this new behaviors. Okay, and subbranches dot add new tree, new chars. Okay, let's get rid of you. And let's see here, subbranches dot get branch. All that fun stuff is good. Okay. Okay. I think that's pretty much all we needed to do for the actual data class. Now we need to go to logic list, I believe. Yep. We're going to say using TM Pro. And holy crap, we might actually get this working. I thought this was going to take a lot longer to do. I thought we were going to start it, and we might actually be able to get it to work today. So let's go to let's see, button grid, back button, cancel button, buttons. There's lots of buttons here. I'm going to go ahead and say header buttons, and then underneath that header, we're going to say serialized field, tooltip, blah, 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 private TMP input field, search field is equal to null, searching, that's a terrible name, search field, I guess, input field to type in, wow, terrible. Input field used to search for specific behaviors. Okay, so for this, we have a couple of things that we need to do. We have initialize, cleanup, show collections, show collection behaviors. I need to refresh, or I need a function that's like refresh search. So I'm going to come down to here, and I'm going to say private CG logic behavior tree. Search tree is equal to new this. I guess it will be nothing to start, which makes some amount of sense, I think. At least by default, I believe that I want it to start with nothing. Out of curiosity, let's find out here. Yep. Okay, good. So if we come back over to here, because basically what should happen here is if it has no branch, or if it does not have any chars, then it can't return this. So we'll immediately skip this, and we'll go into the sub branches. So that's good. Okay. So do I actually need to lower that? I suppose it doesn't matter. Um, I might. So I'm thinking about this some more. I might not even need to do this. I might not need to call two lower because we're just doing ordinal ignore cases on comparisons. So probably don't have to do that. But for the time being, we're going to keep our search tree there. We're going to come down to here. We're going to say private void on search field changed string value. Okay, so we're going to say search field on edit, nope, on change, on value changed, add listener on search field changed. Okay, we are going to then need a refresh button. So let's go to show collections, show collection behaviors, right here, I guess. So we're going to say private void refresh search behaviors, I guess. So all we're going to do there is call refresh search behaviors. Perhaps that should be given a string value. Sure. So we give it a string value. We're going to say if string dot is null or empty value. So if that's null or empty, then we'll just call show collections. Okay, and else we're going to do the fun stuff. So we're going to say search tree dot get branch value, and then dot behaviors. So we're going to say list CG logic behavior search behaviors is equal to that. And then we're just going to say if search behaviors dot count is greater than 0. We're going to do that. I should probably have something like that. So we're going to say serialize field tooltip private rec transform no results prefab equal to null. This is going to be object to show in the button grid when no search results are valid. Well, when no search results are found. Okay. That probably needs to change to be a input, or not an input, but a like text label of some kind. So else we're gonna go ahead and say clear buttons. Which I guess really should just happen anyway. Like right about here. So we're going to call clear buttons, and then else we're going to go ahead and say, oh dear, of course. We're going to need to track that. So we're going to say private rec transfer. You know what? I'm just going to make a custom class for this. I'm going to do some to do so I don't forget this. To do spawn no results label. And then for this, we're going to go ahead and say, instead of clear buttons, we are going to basically just go ahead and say, it's just going to be this. Oh, man. Right. On collection button, click. A little awkward, but I think we'll get the. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to do spawn behaviors. Okay. We're going to go ahead and let that compile. I'm going to get up and stretch. Because I've been sitting for 2 hours. It's good to get up and stretch. Okay. So we are going to add search functionality to this. I'm going to need to have a new script called CG Logic List. Well, how about this? C# script. CG Logic List empty search label. Terrible name. These are so long. Logic list empty search label. How about just a search label? That would make more sense. So CG logic list search label. Yeah, it's good. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and let that compile. It should actually be trying to open up, but it seems to not be wanting to do that. There we go. It's going to be in text quest. Custom adventures. We're going to say using TM Pro. This is going to be a rect mono behavior. Yes, I know. Here, fine. Using sleepyow.common. Okay. Class used to show results in CG logic lists. Search. Actually, how about this? After using search field, I guess. So this we're going to say serialized field, tooltip, private, text mesh pro UGUI, label is equal to null, and then just public string text get return label.text set label.text is equal to value. Text shown on this label. Okay. Label to show search messages. Okay. So now we can go back to here. I'm going to change this from a rect transform to a CG logic list search label. Results prefab. So we're going to go ahead and say private that search label is equal to null. Okay. And what we're going to do here is when we call clear buttons, we're going to say if search label does not equal null, we'll say pool manager dot recycle search label game object, and then search label is equal to null. Okay, pretty straightforward. That way I don't have to worry about it. So once we do that, we're going to go ahead and say search label is equal to pool manager dot request, and then we're going to give it a no results prefab, and then the button grid I think is what it is. Yep. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and say search. Well, I should probably have this be up here. So this is going to say serialized field, text area, 3 and 3, tooltip, blah, 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 private string no results label. How about this? No results message is equal to this. We're going to go ahead and come up to here. I'll put you right there, I guess. Or we'll put it at the bottom, I guess. So there's going to be no behaviors with the label found. And I guess we're going to do this actually. I'm going to escape these quotes. Okay. Let's go down to no results message. I'm going to say search label dot text is equal to string dot format no results message, and then what was it? Prefix value. There we go. I'll rename this as search string, I guess. Okay. So for each one of these, a couple of things. We're going to say search behaviors of 0 dot. Do I have the GUID? I do. Okay. Good. So we're basically going to do this. So we're going to loop through here. We're going to say through our search behaviors dot count. And then we are going to say button dot initial. I think this can change to search behaviors of I dot get JSON. Yeah, get node JSON. We're doing pretty well there. Okay, I think that's all we need. Pretty good. So let's try that. I actually think that that might be all we need to do. That does make my logic list a little bit more cumbersome, I feel. Let's see, list parent, list valid rect, prefabs, there we are. So once this is compiled, we can give that a shot. Okay, we're going to open this up. Let's go ahead and put this here-ish, I guess is fine. So we're going to have to kind of size this up a little bit. Let's pump you up to 400. And wow, that's starting to get tall. Okay. So for this, we need to go to background, scroll view, which will now be 100 from the bottom. The cancel button is still going to be at the very bottom, I will say. And then we're going to need to say create UI Pro input field. I'm going to put that above cancel button. Pivot 0 here. We want this to be stretched all the way across like that. Say 5 and 5, and we're going to give it a position of like 50 and a height of 50. 45 is probably a little bit better. Let's go ahead and say yeah, that's fine. So we're going to go ahead and say search input field. Let's see here. None, 0.2. And color tint. It's okay for now. Let's go ahead and say our point size is 20, 30, 36. Too much. 24. That's better. Okay. Content type is going to be alphanumeric. Yeah. Shouldn't. Honestly, it probably doesn't even need to be that. It can just be. Let's see. Well, we'll just go with the alphanumeric for now, I guess. Don't need a scroll bar. Don't need to worry about any of that. This is going to be 8-bit font, actually. Make sure that these are all correct. Placeholder. Okay. So placeholder is going to say search. We do not want you to be indented like that. I think that's okay. Do you have to be like that? Can we not just have you be in the center? Honestly, I think that's a little bit better. Let's go ahead and shrink this down just a little bit more. Let's go to 18 point size. I think that's fine. We don't need to support rich text. And that's pretty good. Okay, so for that, let's go ahead and sign it right there. Oh man. Yeah, that's fine. So we're gonna go ahead and say, in addition to, I forgot about the back button. That's gonna complicate things. I think. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and create object here, and underneath that, we're gonna need to say UI text mesh pro text. There we go. Let's assign this its correct 8-bit font here. We're going to assign this a layout. So we're just going to say vertical layout group, and then we're going to say layout content size fitter. Vertical fit is going to be preferred size. Horizontal fit is going to be unconstrained. Child controls size, width, and height. Hold on, let me try typing. I think these need to be the opposite. Yes, with a pivot of 1 right there. Good, 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 good. Let's go ahead and give this a padding of, I don't know, 10, 25. Yeah, that's fine. 25, 25, 20, 20, not that it matters. We're just going to have this be the label. So this is going to be our, where did I put you? Search label. Search label. Go ahead and put you here. The label is going to be here. Let's shrink you down to 24. And it's probably going to say something like, what was it? No behaviors. What was the line? Let's try that. With the label that found. Man, that's such a terrible spacing problem. If I make you down to like 22. Well, let's just shrink this a little bit then. 10, 10, 15, and 15. don't like that it's kind of like squishing this because of the kerning. Um, all right, so that's fine, I guess. We're gonna go ahead and okay, that is set to the UI layer. We're all pretty good there. All right, so where are you set up? Put this down here. Search label. Let's get rid of you. Search label. Height of, I don't know, 50 is probably fine. Width of 250 is probably fine. Position of 0. You just turned off? No? Okay. So we have that. Let's go ahead and assign search label. Okay. I think we're good there then. So let's go ahead and hit apply. So we're going to close that, and we are going to open object list. And when we open this and call initialize, so when we go to cleanup, go to definition, we're going to go ahead and say search field dot text is equal to nothing. It's going to be empty. And the other thing I want to do is call search field dot select. Okay. So we'll let that compile. Did you say I had an error? It's just collaborate still freaking out. And it's going to keep freaking out until I close Unity and reopen it, because that's just how collaborate functions. Okay. So, with this, okay, let's go ahead and clear that. Hit save. And let's try this now. I'm pretty sure I didn't forget anything, but we'll find out. Okay. Yeah, that is a bit much. Well, that's clearly not correct. However, that is hilarious. Hold on. Actually, shouldn't that be calling clear buttons? Oh ho ho. Oh. Right. I did that in the worst place possible. Let's put that in clear buttons. Let that compile. Dang, though, that means that it's not giving me anything. Oh, hold on. How are we figuring this out? Oh, right. That's what that was doing. So if our word count is less than 0, or less than or equal to 0, then we need to populate that. So that is complicated on several levels. So that was an add branch. Right. We're calling get branch from over here, logic list, which should probably pass in this. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, right. JSON, I think. So all we get from this is JSON, which makes sense because it doesn't, no reason to pass in the whole list. So let's go to JSON, which is different, but that is data. So, okay. I might actually change this to be instead of behavior tree. No. Dang it. I suppose that's a valid point. I don't need to have references to scriptable objects here. Instead, I can just pass in the JSON blob that we initialize our our logic list with, because that should have all of the relevant information my um, on my logic. But just to be sure, let's see, current JSON, show collections, collection array, pool manager, current index, behaviors as this. So, okay. Okay, yeah. So I need to convert this over to basically use that JSON blob instead of all these logic behaviors. Um, but I think for now we're going to go ahead and call that a day. So we're going to say convert to use JSON instead of direct behavior references. And then down here an add branch if behaviors dot count is equal to 0. And how was I handling that? Yeah, I'm going to say new behaviors is equal to question mark. I was going to do a to do after, well, populate after swapping over to JSON. Okay, so that's a pretty good place to stop for the day. We do have a bunch of new stuff that are nice little usability features. We have node highlighting showing up in the minimap. We have the minimap actually mapping correctly, so as you drag around, it will correctly position everything. And we also have search functionality kind of working in our list, in the sense that the theory is solid, but we don't quite have the execution right yet. So I think that'll be something that we can work on next week. Although actually, I might tinker with that this weekend. So we'll see. But that's pretty cool to get to see search functionality actually was implementable pretty quickly. I think we only spent about 40 minutes on it, and we already got a search bar functioning technically, again in theory, but we don't have the tree data quite working just yet. So I think we're going to leave it there for the day. And announcements. So next week, we are going to be on schedule for doing our regular Devstream on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. But Thursday and Saturday's Devstreams are not going to be airing next week. I'm going to be out of town. So I'll talk about that on Discord as well, just to remind everyone. But for now, that's pretty much all the announcements I had. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.